Today on Base Camp Basics, we're cooking one of my favorite meals, honey chicken teriyaki and fried rice. All right, so on Chef Sasquatch's Squirrel-O-Meter, this is a 3-acorn meal, just because of the complexity and the number of ingredients. So first, let's take a look at the ingredients. So we've got pre-cooked, pre-cut chicken, we've got our fried rice, we've got our honey teriyaki sauce, we got a broccoli, carrots, green beans, some water, and of course, crispy wonton noodles for later. You just add a little bit of crunch to the dish to finish it up. So the first thing you need to do is get your Skottle ready. Make sure you don't have any uninvited guests. And then what you're gonna do is just kind of take your water, gently pour it onto the Skottle so you don't want to splash it everywhere. You want to use about 2 cups of water or whatever the recipe calls for. This one calls for 2 cups, so we're good to go. And then get the Skottle lit. Now, because you are bringing water up to boil, you can kind of crank the heat up. Now, while the water is coming up to a boil, you can come over here and that's when you can start prepping your vegetables. I like to take the carrots and cut them into quarters, since they're gonna be mixed in with the rice later. So one of the other things you can do while your water's coming up to boil is you can get the sauce in on the chicken. Now, I like using these shortcuts because they're already pre-cooked and pre-cut, which means those of you who like have a cooler or something like that, you don't have to worry about, the chicken going bad if you run out of ice or something like that. Take your sauce and then you can just dump it into that bag and then just give it a shake. We can see our water's up to boil now, so we can kind of back the heat off. And now we can take our rice. And the rice I'm using is a chicken and broccoli flavored. Dump it in there. Stir it around a little bit just to get all that seasoning everywhere. And then the idea is, as the rice cooks, it's gonna soak this water up. One of the reasons this is kind of a little bit of a trickier 3-acorn meal is you wanna make sure your Skottle is well seasoned, and that'll prevent the rice from sticking. So now we'll just kind of put that under the hood, turn that heat down just a little bit. While that's simmering there a little bit, we can go on to cutting the vegetables. So let's do the broccoli. Now, a pro tip to cutting broccoli is you want to cut basically from the stems down, from the inside out, split it down the middle, and then just break it apart. Because if you just were to cut it like this, straight down, you get all those little pieces and it's not very fun. And then as you're cutting, just want to kind of pay attention to what's going on the Skottle. Kind of push some from the outside in towards the middle. Now, one of the tricks to cooking rice is you can play with the temperature a little bit. So right now I can see that it's still boiling. So I can actually back the heat off some, almost to the point to where the burner's gonna shut off. Because rice is a slow cooker type thing. If it starts to soak up the water too quick, you can always add a little bit more water. Are you ready for some stir fry? I'm ready for some stir fry. All right, so after you kind of check it, you can kind of see a lot of that moisture is gone. Rice is looking pretty good. You don't have to worry about getting the rice 100% because you're still gonna have time to cook it. And then just kind of make a ring, and we're just gonna take the chicken and we're just gonna dump that chicken out. Oh, it's a shame you guys can't smell this. Now, this chicken is pre-cooked, so you don't have to worry about checking its temperature or anything like that. You're really just kind of warming it up. All right, once you can kind of get the chicken kind of up to temperature, now you can just kind of stir in the rice. And again, this is still gonna cook for a little while, so it doesn't have to be 100%. And then the first thing you do is dump in the carrots. I like dumping them in first just because they usually take the longest, and then just kind of mix them in. If you're running low on moisture, you can just dump in just a little bit of water. That'll soak down into the bottom, give you a little bit of steam, cover that up a little bit. Next, you're gonna add the peas. Again, same idea, you're just dumping them in there, and then you'll get in there and you'll just stir it up. So next you can add up the broccoli. The nice thing about this meal is it's easily scalable. This is a single batch. Total ingredients cost-wise is about $10 to $12, and it will feed about 4 people, but you can very easily double this recipe, get 2 bags of chicken, 2 bags of the sauce, and then the broccoli and vegetables proportional, and it'll feed a small army, about a dozen squirrels or, you know, 3 or 4 kids and a couple adults. So what I like doing is adding just a little bit of the crispy noodles on the side. Just gives you a little bit of crunch, and there you go. Honey chicken teriyaki fried rice. All right, so the not fun thing of any camp cooking meal is always going to be cleanup. But the nice thing with a Skottle is it is relatively easy to clean. So right here, we've got some kind of cooked on rice and that sort of stuff. Fret not, there's a trick. So what you do is you get the Skottle on. Woo! Burned my hair on that one. And then we'll basically just kind of dump some water on there. And then basically by boiling the water, it'll actually free everything up on the bottom. So once all this gets softened up, we'll just wipe it off. Here are my 2 pro tips for cleaning a Skottle. First, get yourself one of the plastic scrapers that's used for cleaning cast iron. So if you have any burnt pieces, you can use this to scrape a little bit more aggressively. The next pro tip is to get a sea salt grinder. So I can set this one on the coarsest level, and then you're just going to use the salt to kind of scour the Skottle clean, and the salt is going to break up any gritty, loose food particles without removing any of the conditioning that's on the Skottle that you want to be left behind. And then the last and final step is just a little bit of vegetable oil, kind of give it a skim coat, make it less likely anything's gonna stick.